All right, this is show number 159, recorded on December 8th. And tonight we have an amazing photographer. Tim, we're always trying to improve the podcast, always looking to do one better. And I have a feeling after tonight, we may have to just shut things down.
Why?
I don't know if we can have a better guest than what we have tonight. Karen, I found Karen, I didn't discover her. For me personally, I found her on Google Plus back long time ago when I got on it, and have been following her work ever since. She is amazing, and we're going to show some of her photos on her website here in a little bit, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I look at them, and I because I've read some of what Karen has done, I know that there's stories behind many of these stories that she has thought of when she was looking at the scene and developing the shot and all that. And it's amazing to listen to the story versus what I take often is just a shot. I come back and hope it's good. So when I listen to some of this stuff, I get inspired, Tim, and thinking I need to approach how I take my landscape shots completely different. And I'm hoping tonight that some of that will rub off on me and I'll get better. But tonight our guest is Karen Hutton. Karen, how are you?
I am great, and it's so good to meet you, and I love what you're doing here. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Well, thank you very much. And Karen, First off, I should apologize. Karen is of 159 shows. The first time this has ever happened, and I was so worried about it eventually happening. I sent out the list. This was probably a year ago, and she picked the night that was already booked. And oh my gosh, I felt so awful about that. It's never happened before. And guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it basically, I won't go into it. But Karen drove. She didn't say anything. She was very nice, but I was so upset about that I made a mistake. That I changed the way I book guests now. So I'm so thankful, Karen, that you gave me a second chance and decided to come on.
It's no problem. We're all so busy. I mean, how do we do this at all? I don't even know.
And I follow your what I can on when you post online your travels around the world and watching your beautiful photos. And I appreciate the time you're spending with us here tonight with that. So people who, I know that you have a large following, a lot of people who know who you are, but for someone who doesn't know the Karen story, how did you get into photography? What was the path for getting there? Something you did as a kid, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, my path is not straight. Understatement. I grew up around cameras, and my family that immigrated here from Norway took pictures. We learned much later. So cameras and taking pictures and everything was always in my life. And I decided in, junior college, I think, that I wanted to be a professional photographer. So I started studying it for real and learning darkroom and, all that good stuff in black and white photography. Darkroom chemicals made me so sick. It was just untenable. So it was devastating to have to give it up at that point and to change my dreams at, 21 or whatever age I was. But I had a long list of things that I wanted to do and that I was able to do. So I went off embarked on my life, and which included figure skating and acting and training horses and dancing and singing and acting. Did I say acting? I don't know.
You did. And one you didn't mention is voiceover. You still do that today.
I still do that today. That kind of came out of acting. And I photographed with whatever camera I had. I couldn't develop my own photos, so it really took a lot of the creative fun and juice out of it. But I photographed the entire time. So I never stopped seeing, in that photographic storytelling way. And I have a somewhat vivid imagination, as you pointed out. So when digital came of age, I was like, yes, I am in. And I waited. I watched it develop, and I'm like, it is not coming a minute too soon. So when digital happened, I jumped back in and had to get back up to speed with all the new technology, and I'm back.
What was your first digital camera? Do you remember?
It was some model of Olympus with had one of those little slide back. It was
really.
It was a point and shoot.
An Ollie 2100.
I don't know. Wasn't into the numbers then. It was Olympus something. But then when I realized how much fun it was, then I got focused. And then my first real camera was a Sony F707.
Okay.
With that barrel.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, ha, and the tilt, and I was the five megapixel images, and it was great. So, and then my husband bought me my first actual DSLR, which was a Canon T1i, which is sort of a junior. I call it a junior DSLR. But I was, up until then, it was like point and shoots, whatever point and shoot, whatever camera, didn't matter. Whatever I could get my hands on, I would photograph with. And then, but I was always complaining because, it's kind of hard to get all this. And I kept telling him, it's just not what I'm seeing in my head. I just can't quite capture it. So he handed me that camera and he goes, I want to see those images in your head. Go get them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You hasn't seen me since.
My first one was, when you said the one that slided, mine was actually a Fuji. And I was taking pictures of my boys. It was a Fuji, I can't remember the model, but it was a 1.2 megapixels. And that's what got me hooked. As a little boy, I had the one with the, I don't know what, the little Kodak square one, and took those photos. And that was okay. I never really got into it. I needed more of that instant feedback. And the first Fuji one didn't have a digital back either, so I didn't get feedback right then. But when I started seeing those prints, that's what's got me hooked on digital photography. Now, I didn't go nearly as far as you have with that. But, you have had... I've reading about some of the things where you've had at least two kind of life-changing events. One was when you were younger, when you saw the light, which is an incredible story. And then the one where I guess you had a dental implant that didn't go well.
My God, you have been paying attention. Yes, those are two big ones for me.
and I want you to tell you about that, but before you do, so I had, what was it, Tim, 2 years ago, had cancer, and it was life-threatening. And coming on the other end of it, I so thought, oh, this is my chance. I'm going to be so more into my photography, and it's going to open up another world for me. And just so you know, by day I'm an accountant, which I think kills my creativity. So I was hoping I wouldn't lose the accounting because I still need that money, but have more creativity come, and unfortunately, it just does not. It's something I still struggle with today. But I'd love to hear the story about how you saw the light, and then anything any more on that you want to share.
Well, I didn't tell that story most of my life because I didn't grow up in an era where stories like that were exactly welcome, and I would have been thrown into the funny factory if I'd ever told that story. But I had visions a lot when I was a child, and I thought it was normal. And they were never scary. They were always, I always felt the most at home when I was having them. And so this one was me on a stage and me watching. It was kind of two me's, as weird dreamy visions are. It was a waking thing. I didn't dream it when I was asleep. It was just like sort of happened. And I was standing on a stage, and I was like, wow, I'm on a stage. What am I doing? I was like 8 or 9 years old when I had this, so I hadn't yet performed or really done anything like that. But there I am on the stage, and there's all these people that had come in, and they're all sitting there, and they're watching, and I'm standing there with my, let's see, where's the frame of so my arms are, outstretched, and my mouth is open, and, the me behind me is watching, and the me that's doing it is experiencing it, and all this is going on at the same time. So it was kind of crazy. And what was happening was this huge column of light was coming down through my head and out my mouth and my midsection and my gut and my hands, washing out over this audience. And what I was aware of in the vision was that they were being transformed by this light. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. It was not like, we look at it now and go, ooh. But as a kid, I was like, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Wow, look at that. And then they walked out, healed. They walked out, like open, healed, all of who they are, fulfilled and everything. And that was the vision. And then I thought, I was accustomed to hearing things about life, like this is what life's about, this is what your life's about. And then I saw that, and I didn't really know what it connected to. So it became kind of like what do you call that when you hold something up against anything else that goes on as a measure of is this like that? You know, is this like that? So it was always a guiding force in my life.
And you didn't take from that, hey, maybe I should be a doctor.
Yeah, no, not so much.
Isn't
That's people wonder why you were a performer. You've done so many things. Well, they were all driven by a feeling I had about something about each of those careers and those businesses that I did that felt like a piece of that vision, a fulfillment of that vision. So even though I've done a lot of things, it's only ever been one thing that I've ever done.
It's amazing how things that we experience as children can be such a driver and such an impact on our life, and you know, both positive and negative, but in a positive way throughout, you know, for decades on. And that's great that you were able to, you know, keep that with you and use it as a driving force.
Yeah, I mean, you know how it is growing up on this planet. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and it, you know, I think for a lot of us, there's a period of time in our lives where everything goes dark for a while, and then if you're lucky, it comes full circle and comes back. And I've been very, very fortunate that
We're getting a little bit of from your mic. I think it's
your microphone's clicking on your collar.
Oh,
you may not hear the.
I know. Is the mic right here? Is that where it is on this thing?
On your right by your right hand. Right on your right fingers, that's the microphone.
I am so sorry about that.
That's okay.
No, somebody in chat saw Mike in chat actually saw that. I didn't realize what it was at first. Oh, now it's perfect.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, I won't move.
Well, I don't know how you're going to do that.
I won't move. Okay.
So we were showing some of your shots here from your website, which is amazing. I love the intro one. At least it's the intro for one for me. And I'll bring it back up. And there's an extra thumbnail you see that is the live feed that I'm sending. If you're watching chat, it's always a little bit behind us. But whenever I first bring up your webpage, it's a shot of Horseshoe Bend.
Yeah.
And we've seen, everybody's seen lots of photos of Horseshoe Bend. There's only so many ways to take it. But yours, I love that it's so full screen and it's just perfect. And it just hits you as soon as you go to your website. There it is, just now.
Yeah.
I just love that. And I'm getting, Tim, I know as you're looking at the show notes, I'm all over the place, but that's
like usual. I'm used to
it. When you come up on a scene like Horseshoe Bend or any scene, the fact that you see these scenes as a story, or maybe I shouldn't put words in your mouth, but you think of a story when you see the scene, and that's what you're developing. Can you tell me more about that?
It isn't always a story. So the process. So you're curious about the process of walking up on a scene? Well, Horseshoe Bend and places like that sometimes terrify me because everybody's done it, and you're like, oh God, what have I got to offer that's any different at all? And then so you got to have that, and then let that go,
right?
And then just stand there because it's amazing, and stand there and look at it without your camera. Just look at it and feel it and just experience it because it's amazing. And it's not, it's different than it looks in the photo when you feel it because it's 3D and everything like that. And so if I don't do that, then anything that happens after that is all out of my head and it's not the same. So I have to start by connecting it with my whole self, my body and what I feel in my body, and then just let the experience start to happen. So from that point, sometimes I get a feeling in my gut, sometimes it's in my heart, sometimes I hear music. If it's in my heart, if it's a heart feeling, then all of a sudden the music swells, like orchestral music just swells. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes it'll be like scenes of a movie, like literally scenes. Sometimes it's a movie I've seen. Sometimes it's a color scheme of a movie. And then sometimes it's a feeling with a little bit of like, what do you call the undertone of music?
Yeah.
Like, how Jaws has dun, 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 dun. Yeah. I don't usually hear that, but
that's good.
Might be
Hope not.
a little undertone. And so that starts to paint it, the whole experience for me. Occasionally it tells a story at the time. So I'm either having a feeling, having visions, or hearing voices. And so that's where it starts, and it goes from there. And then an alternate scenario is I just know there's something there. I don't quite know what it is, but I can see it in the lens, and I can kind of like go, where is it? Where is it? Oh, there it is.
I think I've heard you describe that with a car, and I don't know if I can pull that one up, but with an old rusty car where you were coming down till you saw a face or something with the car.
Yep. Yeah, and all of a sudden she came to life. It was like this car, and all I kept seeing. So, let's see, I'm not exactly sure where that car is, but on my website, right off the top of my head, I think it's in Civilizations, or it might be in Civilizations, kind of down low. But anyway, the thing is that Bodie, that's in Bodie, California, and Bodie has this kind of field where all these, not all these, there's, I don't know, 4 or 5 cars, really old rusty cars. There she is.
Yeah.
And she's been photographed a million times. And so I'm looking through my lens, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so bored. All I can see in my mind is everybody else's shots.
Right.
And I'm like, first I get really distracted, and I'm like, I don't want to take this picture because, what am I going to, it's just a car. I don't take pictures of cars. And I like to give myself assignments. I don't think, I had a ski instructor once who said, you don't really know how to ski until you can ski any condition, anytime, any mountain, anywhere. Okay. You don't have to ski it well. You don't have to be fast, but you have to be able to do it. Otherwise, you can't call yourself a really good skier. Yeah. So I apply that to my photography, and I'm like,
interesting.
I can get a photograph anywhere. But sometimes I whine along the way. So I was whining. Yeah. And then I kind of I stopped and I went, I remembered what I just told you. And I went, okay, I've got to find it. It's here. I can feel that it's here. I just can't see it. Where the hell is it? And so I started moving my camera. I'm like, where are you? Where are you? What is it? What is it? And all of a sudden I hit that angle and it went bam. And I went, oh, Bessie. Oh my God. Because it became like an old fashioned, who was it? Was it Gunsmoke or one of those really old, I don't know. There was a Bessie somewhere, and it might have been a cow. I don't even know.
It might have been. It sounds like a cow name.
Yeah, but her name was what came to my mind. And once she had a name, then her whole story happened, and her whole past, and just sitting there with time just swallowing her back up. But she had this incredible past, and then I started thinking, oh my God, what if she could remember everything while she's sitting out there, and what would that be like? And all that was going through my mind as I was photographing and processing this photo, which is weird.
I can definitely see the face. Yeah.
Yeah. For a long time, I wouldn't tell anybody how I take pictures either, by the way. So it's kind of...
Was that because it was a secret you didn't want anybody else to be able to use, or because you felt it was kind of weird?
Well, I thought it was really weird because for a while...
fantastic.
I wasn't sure if I was any good at first. And I thought, if I'm not good and I tell these stories, then I suck and I'm insane. So I thought I'd rather just suck if that's going to be what it is. So you never know. So it's been a really slow evolution. I had a friend tell me I had to tell the stories, and I'm like, they're going to think I'm insane. She goes, no, you have to tell the story.
I could see that fear if they were crap and you had that story. But, everybody has their approach, and your approach is fantastic. It is working wonderful, and I want to try to adopt it. And I am somewhat relieved in the fact that it takes you a little while to find the scene. Mm-hmm. If you would just walked up onto it, taken a shot, and, hey, that was a minute and a half, I'm done. Maybe I should just quit.
Oh my God, I should tell you the stories of the days I go out and shoot and I get nothing.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Days I go out to shoot and I'm like, sometimes I take pictures and I come back and there's like nothing. Mm-hmm. And then other days I just go out and I'm like, I think I'm going to go have coffee because today I just suck. I can't do this. There's nothing. I got nothing.
But you can't be genius all the time.
Well, and you're never, I don't know, you use that word, you never think of yourself that way, ever.
True.
The minute you think that, you're hosed.
Yeah. Well, the minute you think there's no room for improvement, yes.
No, it's not even that. It's the minute you think, there's a difference between knowing, what I know now is that that photography is light, that I get to work directly with light and create with light, and that I'm in alignment with that vision and my purpose on one of my purposes on this planet. So in that, I feel confident. I feel relaxed. I feel good. It just feels good. I've learned that my work is okay and that people like it, and that's great, because what that means is now I can continue. Maybe I can, make some money at it. Maybe I can sustain it. Or if that wasn't the case, I'd sustain it some other way. You know what's happening here? My drawer is squeaking. Okay.
I wasn't hearing that much.
Didn't hear that at all.
So it sounds like for you, the photography is not necessarily about the money. Money may be a side thing as far as if you make money from it. But photography is more just, that's your life. That's what you want to do. And even if you didn't make money from it, you would find a way to continue it.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I would say that is true. I mean, I'm very fortunate in that it is a good portion of my business. Between that and voiceover I enjoy both, because I enjoy using my voice. I enjoy expressing and working that way. I've never been someone that only ever does one thing, ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to take a lot of crap for that too. Oh, you're master of all trades. What do they say? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yep.
I would just look at them and I'm the master of all of them. I can't help it if you can only do one. I never said that out loud. Diversify, because I just knew there would come a time when the ability to do many things was going to be, a strength and not a weakness. And sure enough, we're in those times now. So I'm like,
absolutely. And they a lot of them overlap in ways you may not have thought of at first.
Exactly. I mean, one of the things people have wanted me to teach for a long time, they're always, wanting me to do tutorials and show them how to move sliders and what settings to use. And of course, I can't stay awake long enough to tell anyone, because that stuff bores me. Even though I do it and I know it really well, that's important. I don't mean to downplay it, but it's not what I want to spend my time helping people do, because that stuff you do like that. It's the other stuff that makes what settings you use and makes everything else really your own. And that's your voice. That's finding your voice.
Right.
And I've learned, I've done so many things that you find after a while, or I have found that there are certain threads from all of them that tie together and apply to photography, that apply to life, that apply to anything that you do. And I learned a long time ago that if you find a thing that applies no matter what in everything that you do, it's a truth. It's a truth of some sort. And that if it becomes something that's applicable everywhere, then it's a very special thing. So that's the kind of stuff I'm really more interested in, because I think photography and art brings something to people, like you were saying.
Yeah. I
want to be more creative. Why do you want to be more creative? Because it feels good to find your voice and express yourself and have that part of yourself have a voice. So that's the stuff that really interests me, and that's the kind of work I'm developing now.
So because of my analytical side, I do tend to look at the gear stuff comes easier to me. So I've really been trying to work on, and I say really trying to work on, actually this show distracts me from doing my photography, which is kind of, I think if you looked at my data in Lightroom and saw the amount of photos I took, you could tell the year I started the show, because it just fell off a cliff. But the creative side is something that, I probably will never have your eye, but definitely I know I can do way better than what I'm doing. And it's something that seeing your work and talking to somebody like you really inspires me and wants me to get out there. Part of it is patience. I don't have the patience. And that's good to hear from you, that you don't walk on a scene and you're out in 2 minutes. But once I mentioned gear, can we just get the gear out of the way?
Sure. I mean, and I don't mind talking about gear. I always sound like I'm putting it down. And it's only because people land there, they dwell there, and they never move off of there. And that's when I'm like, you guys, you're missing the point.
Right. And I don't want to spend much time on it.
That's just a tool, not the not everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So do you have a favorite lens, and which camera are you using now?
Well, I'm a Fuji girl.
Okay.
I love my Fuji. I switched this year actually from Canon, which I also love, but kind of out of necessity. But this particular, and I've tried a lot of different cameras and mirrorless, and before landing on this system, it's just opened my eyes and made me creative in ways that it's astounding. It's like a paintbrush. It's like it has opened doors to parts of my, I don't know, my brain or my inspiration that I just didn't even know I had. So I love my Fuji. My go-to lens is the 16 to 55.
Okay.
And then telephoto 55 to 200 are my two staples. And then I take forays into the 10 to 24 and the 60 and the 27 and the whatever else I have on hand. They all have their own little, voice.
Right. And I'm getting some other photos ready here. So okay, hopefully that answers the question for the gear for everybody. Now the next question we can get out of the way. Lightroom, Photoshop, on one. What is your weapon of choice on the software side?
That's another one. Okay, so I will actually tell you what I do. I do not use Lightroom.
Okay.
At all. I don't hate it. I'm not a hater. It just doesn't let me do what I do. That's all. It's just not the tool for me. I use Photoshop, but I use plugins like a son of a gun. So, and I use plugins, and I know a lot of Lightroom techniques too, but I fell in love with plugins early on because of the ideas that they give me, and I use Photoshop because I use a lot of layers. And I use, let's say I do use On One. Let's say I use one of the On One filters, and boom, now it lands in Photoshop with its On One thing. Well, now I start brushing through just the piece because it's never global for me. It's always this section here needs this, so I'm going to brush that in at 50% opacity, and then I'm going to bring this in here. Then I'm going to do soft focus, blending mode. I do a lot of blending modes. I'll do textures. I'll do textures that I have totally blurred so that now they're just hues and light. And then I'll throw in another Photoshop technique, or run over here to Magic Bullet is another one that I use. And I use Aurora, and I use, MacFun software all the time. And I use Aurora Pro, which is the HDR software, but I never use it to do HDR. I always use it on a single image.
So none of these or majority of these images are not HDR then?
Not anymore. Not since Fuji.
So the Fuji camera you use must have a great dynamic range already.
Oh, it's incredible.
Is that part of why you switched?
Wow. No. What started it? You want to know about the switch? I can tell you briefly.
Yeah.
So the switch came because as a landscaper, I like options. Mm-hmm. And some people go, I just take one camera and one lens. And I'm not that girl. I like my options, and that's just the way I am. So my camera bag was getting so heavy, I was falling down. I mean, and because landscape, I live up in Lake Tahoe, you're clambering out on big granite boulders. The weight of the bag, you get in some weird position, the weight of the bag takes over, and pretty soon it's pulling you down. And I went down a few too many times, and then simultaneously had a trip to France coming up, and with TSA and flying places, just the thought of hauling this gear, and I knew we'd be walking 10 or 15 miles a day, and I'm like, there's no way, I can't do this. I've got to, and I'd been planning to go mirrorless for a long time. I don't know. You just need the right motivation. So that was mine, and tried a few brands. Mm-hmm. And then my friend Ken Kamenetsky said, well, why don't you try Fuji? And I'm like, okay, I'll try Fuji. So I tried Fuji, and I went, oh my God, I'm in love. So it solved all my problems in terms of, weight and travel. And then as an artistic tool for my way of working, it's brilliant. It's just incredible for me.
Yeah, that for a landscape.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
For a landscape photographer, that's got to be, a huge plus to have much lighter weight and all that traveling.
But go ahead.
Yeah.
What did you want?
I was just gonna say that I am a Fuji X photographer now. I mean, that's how much I love it. Like, I would never ever. I'm just not one of these people who has time or interest to say that I like something that I don't, or support something that I don't. So when they approached me to be one of their, X photographers, I said, okay, I just love this gear. So so this magazine is Delta Sky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I just had it marked and then I took the Post-it out. It was really brilliant, wasn't it? So if you go through, this is what I love. If you go through and you're like looking at the table of contents and you're like, well, what's in this magazine? And you come to the second page of the table of contents. Bam!
Look at there. There's
Bam!
one of Karen's shots.
Yeah, that's
got to make you feel good.
That's incredible.
It feels really good. It feels really, really good. It's fun. I mean, I just always have loved stuff like that, whether it was mine or someone else's, whether back in television days, if it was me getting a role or somebody else getting a commercial, we always celebrated. So it's in that spirit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how getting into Fuji went. And then, the first thing I did was went to France. And then I was like, but how is it as a landscape camera? Because I didn't do that right away. And it turns out it's pretty freaking brilliant.
Okay. Now, do you shoot a lot with other people? With do you on some of these remote locations or hiking or whatever? Do you go alone?
Mostly, yeah. Mostly, I'm alone.
Most landscape photographers I talk to, they like to be alone. For me, I like to be alone because I don't want to feel the pressure of someone else's schedule. I want to feel that I can take as long as I want, even though I generally don't take long enough. I have a few friends I can do that with. Yeah, I feel that way. It's partly that, and then just partly timing. I mean, the thing is, like, where I live, you watch the sky, and if the sky gets amazing and everything looks amazing, you drop everything and you go photograph. And there really aren't very many people that can go with you. Yeah. Do you come up on a scene very often and say, the light's not right now, but this is an awesome spot. I need to come back at a different time when the light is good?
Yep.
Okay.
I do. It's tricky, here I do that a lot because I live here.
Right.
But if you're traveling and you're only going to be in this place one time, it's tricky, You just got to do the best you can and then either be happy with that or know how to post-process to make it look amazing.
And speaking of post-processing, how much of the shot, of the final image, are you seeing when you take the shot, and how much of it is the actual taking of the shot versus the editing?
Well, so first of all, composition is king.
Right.
And I always do my best. Nobody's perfect, but I always do my best to compose it in camera the way I want it to the best of my ability. If it just won't fit, it all won't fit in one frame, and I don't want to do a pano right then I know I'm going to have to crop. But mostly, I get that right in camera. And it really depends on the image whether I leave it more like Fuji. I'm finding I can leave it closer to what it looks like in camera. Mm-hmm. And then Fuji also has these film simulations that come, it spits out a JPEG with whatever film simulation you choose for it. And some of them give me really good ideas too. And occasionally I'll share those just straight out of the camera because they're amazing.
Right.
And so let's see. Sometimes, like this photo you're looking at right now with the creek, it was sunset and that golden light was there, and the lighting was all there, but the feeling was kind of mystical, and it was rare. It was just sort of a rarefied, like, when do you see gold water and the snow like that? And it just felt like when it has the feeling that had, it feels like gauzy somehow, like there's a gauze fabric over the whole scene, and like it's happening in a dream, and that's just me. So then I process it with that feeling in mind, and then it ends up, sometimes I end up with a little more mist than there might have been there in real life, or a little bit more glow, or a little bit, maybe I'll enhance the light a little bit because, this particular one was not taken with Fuji, it was with Canon. So okay. Canon's RAWs are really flat by design because they make them that way so you can do what you want with them. That's kind of the thing. So it actually was flatter in the camera than it was in real life. I mean, I knew that because I looked at it and I went, it's not really there, is it?
Yes.
It's not that. So I'm going to have to go.
When you were seeing this in real life, were you thinking that scene you just talked about, the fantasy land, or how do you say it, dreamland? You were seeing it. So taking that thought and then actually producing it is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So you got the image, you got the framing, you got the composition all right. You did your best with the exposure and for the scene. But where did you get the skills to actually do the editing on the back end in Photoshop? Because taking your dream, your thoughts there, and actually producing them, and by the way, fantastic. I mean,
Thank you.
I look at your images, and none of them look over-processed. For somebody who's just learning, who's just getting into that, it's real easy to go overboard with it and to make it look like, they went too far. I don't see that in any of your images. So obviously you have the skills, but how did you get that?
All right. Well, so first of all, this is where, I'm a huge believer in cross-training. I think anybody who only studies photography is doing themselves a great disservice because their vision isn't broad enough. So there's two parts to this answer. Okay. The first part is acting. So in acting, you play a part and you're on a stage, and there's something called the fourth wall. Now, the fourth wall is, so you're on a stage, right? And so you have your side, your back, and your sides. The fourth wall is the audience. And you're taught as an actor to never break the fourth wall. Okay. Some of the modern pieces that are written are meant to talk to the audience or involve them in some way. But in kind of a classical theater training, you're taught never to break that, to have your moment and create your world behind that fourth wall. So you really have to build your fantasy land, and the trick is to make sure that you do it in such a way that the audience goes with you. Right. Because if they don't believe you for a second, for a millisecond, if you're not real and you're not 100% authentic and really, really there, you've lost the whole thing. It doesn't matter what you did for the last 45 minutes. The second you lose it, it's gone. So that is such, I mean, it was hard in acting, and it's true in performing, it's true in everything. That's one of those truths, right? So as it applies to photography, it's really fun to take people on a journey, which is what you do in acting and performing, and anything that you do for people, you take them on a journey. But the minute you make them not believe you, the journey's over.
Right.
They're not going to go with you anymore, and you're just over there playing by yourself. So that's where I sort of developed my style of, I will stretch it, and there's always going to be people who say, I don't believe that. That's just, I was speaking in New York at Photo Plus Expo, and I think I said something like, reality doesn't really faze me. It doesn't really bother me, because if reality doesn't suit me, then I create my own reality. I was trying to make the point that I do that in life, so why would I not do that in my art?
Sure.
Because it's all one and the same. And some guy, my husband was watching, he said, some guy just listened to me say that, shook his head, and walked away. So, this stuff isn't for everybody, but in developing my style, I wanted to never break the fourth wall, so to speak, of believability.
Okay.
And then in terms of developing the skills, I would have it really clearly in my mind what I wanted it to feel like. Then I would have to sit there and think about, now, what would convey that? Is it glow? Is it darkness? Is it warmth? What is it? And then I would come up with what that was. And then I go, now, how do you do that? So one of the ways I learned a ton was I did almost every tutorial that On One software offered at the time. Free tutorials. Nick software, those are the two biggies. I don't know, whatever other, plugins, because they'd have these amazing professionals teaching how to use the software, but they would invariably teach Photoshop techniques too. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I was too broke at the time to go and do. I didn't even know about lynda.com for the longest time, and I wasn't patient. I just had this vision, and it was like this vision. Oh my God, I've got to get it out of my head and onto the screen. And I didn't want to go and take a month's worth of tutorials and listen to a bunch of stuff I didn't care about. I would just listen to these. I would just get the piece that I needed. go and use that and internalize that and really use it, and then go, it needs something more. What is that? And so the more my tool chest built, the more stuff I could experiment with because I knew more. But in the beginning, it was just really these little short free tutorials that taught me all kinds of stuff and how to see.
Was that frustrating at first to have these visions and not have the skills yet to actually output it? But, but at some point there must have been, I'm there. An image that you developed and it actually was able to get close enough to your vision that you thought success finally on this image. Does anything like that stick out? Was there any aha moment?
Well, a couple things. One, you never stop growing.
Sure.
And you never ever, you have to, as a creative person, you really have to stay in your, what I call the kindergarten mind, which is always full of wonder, always curious, always open, never assuming that you know anything. So I never sit there and go, oh, I've got it. Because the minute I do that, game's over.
Right.
Because now ego has suddenly taken over, and any spontaneity and any original thought and anything other than what, has happened before is now not an option. And I want original thought, and I want to try new things, and I want to always, be open. So, oh God, now I went too far on my other little thing. Okay. I lost the thread. What was it? Ask me the question again.
Well, the question was there a moment where an image came out that you go, oh, this is it? Or maybe more the skill was more gradual, so it's harder to
I have
to
a perfect
see.
image. Yeah, I have a perfect image, and I wish I had the before on hand, and I don't. But there's an image. It's on my website. It's called the Grand Dame, and it's the Notre Dame, and it's taken kind of like looking up. So it's like the Notre Dame is sort of looming. And I know it's in civilizations in Paris and France. In fact, a beautiful scarf is being made as we speak of this, because that's a whole other thing, clothing and my work. But anyway, so we were there in Paris in 2010, and I saw this image. It was just dumping snow. So it was gray and snow. And every time I tipped my camera up, a big glop of, I just hit my thing again, sorry.
That's okay.
A big glop of snow would land on my lens. It was like a crapshoot. Put it back down again. And I knew I had something, but I didn't know how to make it. I didn't know how to create it because it was flat and it had these huge glops of snow on the original. But I saved it because I just knew, I think it's below there if you keep scrolling down. I just knew that eventually I would have the chops to do something with it. Well, I don't know where it went. Oh, I know where it is. It's in the fine art photography on the left. Sorry.
That's okay. I want to see this image now we're talking about.
I know.
Left.
Okay, where the hell is it? I do this, I rearrange. I go, this makes more sense. No, let's put it this way. And I'm always rearranging my website, and then I can't even find anything. But anyway, it's we'll find it.
Okay.
One way or another.
We'll find it eventually.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, it took 2 years, I think, before I had the chops to do it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I did not know how to create what I wanted. And then when I finally did, then I was scared to tell anybody what I did, because I thought, because I was classically trained as a photographer. You don't even process. And then to be processing, and then in this particular case, I replaced the sky. Are you kidding me? Oh, here it is. It is in the civilizations, and it's below the dancers, right in the middle.
Okay. I'm going there now.
I replaced the sky on this, and I didn't tell anybody, because I was like, I'm going to be drummed out of the core for replacing the sky. That's not it, although I did replace the sky on that one too. Truth be told.
I see which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Below the dancers. Where's the dancers?
Up from where you are. Up there, so go to the left of right there.
It's right there in the middle.
Yep, that one.
So you replace the sky in this one.
So I replaced the sky, and the color, it was just flat gray, boring, and it had these big blotches of snow glop. And so I learned a lot. I mean, I learned how to clean up snow glop off of an image, and I learned how to replace a sky, and I sort of accidentally came up with this color scheme that wasn't there, but it had the feeling, because when I looked up at that thing that day, Notre Dame, looked like a school marm. And it looked like she was glaring down at me and had these little minions by her side that were just kind of like, she's talking to me. I don't know why in a British accent when she's French. She's looking down at me like this. What are you doing? Taking my picture. And the little minions are like going, just being really obnoxious, and you just want to smack them, but they know they're under the protection of the Grand Dame.
Yeah.
And it was a school, kind of like a Hogwarts, but not as friendly kind of a school. And there was
unfriendly Hogwarts. Yep.
Yeah. And there was no Hogwarts at that time. So that's what it was. So I didn't know how to do that. And so we just sat there for the longest time until one day I went, oh my God, I know how to do it.
I had the skill now. I love, that whole school marm and the minions, that process of coming up with a scene in your head is awesome, and it's got to help so much, and it help you find the shot that you're looking for, and that's something I want to work on myself, looking for that, moving around until I find something.
Yeah, it's the composition. So the thing that I find myself saying, this may help you and anybody else, that I find saying is, where's the story? Where's the story? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where does it go from, like, we're just panning around to this general scene to all of a sudden it goes, bam, there it is. And all of a sudden, it's like watching a movie where they sort of pan into the city, from the earth to the land to the state to the city to the street, and then all of a sudden the shot comes in and now the story begins. So,
and that's got to be where, we talked earlier about how all these different paths of your life, all these different skills that you develop over the years, all kind of come together and help you create those stories in your mind.
Yeah.
Which helps create the work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
You mentioned how some people were critical of the fact that this is not a straight out of camera shot and everything. Hopefully that's becoming less and less of an issue. Really only in photojournalism is that something that should be still held to.
I don't know.
Photography is art, in my opinion, and you can do whatever you want to with it.
Yeah, but it's your opinion. So yes, everybody has a different opinion, and everybody, it's a big world. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a way they like to approach it, and there's room for all of it.
Exactly. So, and if that's something that's the way you want to do it, unless you're doing photojournalism, it's do it the way you want to.
Yeah. You still see comments in social, somebody photoshopped, and you're like, really? What tipped you off?
So now that you developed some of these skills in Photoshop, how much time does it take you to take your vision and actually bring it into an image?
It's less. It's getting a lot easier. The tools make it easier, and understanding how to layer, I used to, I'm trying to remember what order I did it in that didn't work, but I've learned that for me, there's a process. It's like building a layer cake. If I don't start with, and I don't build it a certain way, it kind of like slides off to the side before I'm done. So, first of all, having a camera that turns out the images that, these cameras do, and in my case, Fuji, turns out, puts me like so much closer to my ideal image to begin with, that a lot of my work is done there. And then, the first thing I do is clean up anything that needs cleaning up, because if I leave, if I have dirt on the lens or something and I leave that till, step 20, now I've really got a job trying to match everything back up. But if I clean it up right away, then a nice clean image goes forward with me through the rest of my process. And then I know that if I go too long without, tuning the details and tuning I don't want to say sharpness, because with the tools that we have now, micro contrasts and details that some of these softwares can do now, really, really help a lot, and you don't have to worry so much about sharpness per se. Because if you sharpen too much, you've got artifacts, and then
halos and
over contrasting will make halos. So I try to start off with a really good base image, and I did that when I did a lot of HDR as well. People would create their HDR image and get it looking good, and then they'd think they were done. And I was like, well, that's almost my base image, but now I'm going to blend in parts of the original into this. That'll be my base image, and then I will start processing from there. Because you need your nice clean palette. And that is like makeup. I was an actor, right?
There you go. Create the base.
Create the base. You create a flat, you literally get rid of the shadows, you get rid of the blemishes, you create a clean slate, clean canvas. And then you start to, unless you're doing clown makeup or, really, stage, you're doing some monster or whatever, that's different. I'm just talking about like making a beautiful camera-ready face or stage-ready face. You start to build in and you layer in and you blend and you do all these things. So, I did makeup for years as an actor. And so applying these layers and creating these effects and making the eyes sparkle or making, whatever is an approach that I take. So I get a good base image and then I go, now, what comes next? And I know that if I get the wrong order, it's going to blow out my picture and I'm just going to have to start all over again. Yeah. And I've done that many times.
Well, practice helped you develop those skills. Yes, you got to spend the time. And speaking of time, I know we're running out of time. I can't believe.
Are we really? Jeez,
I have.
Yeah, I saw the clock. I was like, wow.
If I showed you my list, we have not made it through much of my list.
No. What's pressing? What would you like to ask me that is on your list that you'll kick yourself if you don't?
No, that you put me on the spot like that. I don't know, but I don't know if there's any one thing. I would like to wrap up with a couple of things, and that is, I'm listening to all this, and you are still. I'm sure you're still finding ways to enhance your skill. Is there any? How are you continuing to evolve? Any workshops or training or anything like that? I know for a while, maybe you still are, I don't know, we're involved in Arcanum as a master, helping teach. Or is that something you're still doing?
No, I was one of the Inception masters. I was one of the 6 original teachers. And then, but my plan was to do that to help get it all going on. And then I had things that I wanted to create. And so I've taught everything I've ever done. So I've taught for 40 years, I think, because I am 150, and taught for a really, really long time. And I was actually on sabbatical. I put myself on sabbatical from teaching everything so that I could just explore my art, because I can't seem to do both. I cut off part of my creative thing when I teach. It just works in a different way. And so I'm enjoying exploring it. So what kind of training do? I did so much training for so long. I'm really just trying to implement.
Okay. For people like me and Tim and a lot of other people out there, there's so many options now. Arcanum being one of them. You mentioned Linda Kelby training, stuff from various photographers who are doing their own personal workshops and that kind of stuff, and then free stuff on YouTube. And I can't ask you that because it would be different for every person. But who is the Arcanum right for?
Well, you know what? I want to answer the question you didn't want to ask, which is how do you decide where to go get your training?
Yes, and I didn't ask you that because I thought it was too open because everybody's different.
It's not bad. No, because I've thought a lot about this, and the thing of it is, it partly depends on what how you resonate, and it depends partly on your teacher, but it also depends on where you're at in your training. So if what you need to understand is how the heck Lightroom works and how do you what is a layer, then you go to, maybe you do a month on lynda.com and you just download that information like in the Matrix. You just get that information because you have to have that information wherever you get it. Or maybe you just go onto YouTube and you just start digesting the videos on how to. I do that sometimes if I run into a a technique I can't figure out, or what the heck is I can't think of a word now, but what the heck is a fill in the blank? And I'll go to YouTube and just learn that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I like to do it. And I like to do it, get it, and use it and internalize it right away. I'm not good at just getting a whole bunch of information and just generally knowing how things work. Some people like that. If you're that kind of person, get that kind of training. Now, if you kind of have your chops together and you want to your, like, now how do I find my voice? How do I use this more creatively? Maybe you look at the Arcanum. Maybe you look at, see if there are teachers out there. Start reading, people's blogs. Guy Tal is an incredible, philosopher, photographer type of person, and also a tremendous technician. Look at some of the workshops, look at some of the photo trips that people do, and align yourself with where you are now, because it's going to change over time. And so you might find yourself in YouTube digesting technical information, lynda.com for a period of time, Kelby for the variety pack of new stuff coming up. And then, the Arcanum is community. So if you crave community, you seek out things like that. So you really have to know yourself.
Yeah.
And that was something that, again, cross-training in acting. When I was learning to work on camera, the woman who eventually became my agent was also a teacher. She came and said, if you're going to be an actor, you are the only instrument you have. You're it. You are the paintbrush. You're the everything. So you have to know yourself better than anybody. So that means if you have to get into therapy or you want to, it means doing other disciplines, dancing, going to theater, listening to music, falling in love, falling out of love, having your heart broken, all of it. It all starts to become part of what you have to offer. And so I feel the same way about anybody in any of the arts when it comes to the expressive part. So
that's great advice.
Yeah. Live a life worth living so that you have something to say. I look at so many photographs and I'm like, what are you trying to say? I have no idea who you are. I don't know.
And you got to be more true to yourself, right? And not do things for you rather than what you think society or whatever wants you to.
Right.
Be honest with yourself.
And I always say, figure out what you love. Do you love a journey? Do you love, I love diminishing lines, and I love journeys, and I love the mystery and the draw, the pull of the tracks in the distance and the mist, and what is beyond the next bend. I love that. So that'll feature into my work. I love big vistas. My heart just sings, looking at Horseshoe Bend and some of these big vistas. But I also love one-on-one, and I love the intimate, and I love magic. And there's many things that I love, but I pursue them and express them specifically in my work. And I'll do an exercise. I'm going to find magic in everything I look at today. Or I'm going to find a small story today, or I'm going to find something.
One thing we didn't have time for tonight and is looking at some of your images and hearing the stories from them. So at some point in the future, I'd love to have you back and continue this discussion, maybe hit some of my things here. Because listening to some of your stories on these images are just fantastic. And they're inspiring, I think, to listen to your passion about the image is inspiring to others. And speaking of inspiring to others, a few people have said some stuff out in chat. Tanya says, Karen, why are you so awesome? #1 fan.
What does that mean?
That sounds like a softball.
Thank you.
Lori says, is that cloud real on the train? It doesn't look like it. She's kidding. She's kidding.
It's the blue, if it's the blue train and it's who I think it is, she knows exactly what it is.
Yes, she does. I think she was just saying that because of the conversation we were having at the moment.
Oh my God, I have to tell you a story about that train though, the blue one.
Let me try and find it. Yes, I would love to hear the story.
I think it's the one, and you can tell me more comments. I know we're going over a little bit, but this won't take long.
I'm fine with time. I know you have a cutout.
Yeah, I do, but it's okay. I'm not that far away.
You tell me what you need to do.
All right. I got a few more minutes.
Is it this train?
Yes. Okay.
I love that. I saw that picture earlier, and I love that picture.
I love this. I love this train. I had wanted to do something like this for the longest time, and we do have a train that goes through here, but catching it at the right time was really tricky. So we did one day, but it is the flattest photo. The raw is as flat and not even that attractive as can be. So I really had to build this one, but I wanted that because I wanted to have the exercise. And as I did it, it turned into, so the story was that this train, like, it's an interdimensional train. And so it drops in from another dimension and like delivers passengers, picks passengers up, and like it has starlight, coming out of the headlights. And this, and then the clouds, because it just dropped in from another dimension. So of course it's got all these clouds and all this disturbance, and it's getting ready to go out again. And oh my God, I was just right there when it came in from another dimension and went poof and left. So I posted it on social, and a guy said, his comment on it was, that's just not real.
Thank you very much.
He said that wouldn't have happened.
That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and I wrote back and I said, so wait, you've actually seen a train drop in from another dimension and beam out again? Oh my God, I want to meet you.
Yes. And where did it happen?
Where did it happen? Oh my God, I've never met anybody besides me that saw that. That's incredible. He didn't respond after that.
I like how
you called him out.
I like how you set the lights up to just in the front, so the snowflakes in the front of the train are lit up, nothing to the side. It's a really, and the live picture on your website looks so much better than what I see in Skype. So
yeah.
Yeah, and I should say fun. Everybody should go visit Karen's website, which is Karen Hutton Photography.
Karen Hutton Photography is the photos, and then KarenHutton.com is the kind of the website.
All the other stuff.
Go back and forth.
And you're on social. You mentioned you're on Google Plus. You're on Facebook, Twitter, and other places.
Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. All over the place. You know how it is.
Yeah, because our streaming of your website photos is not really doing them justice. You get an idea of what they are, and if you're watching the show in 480p or less, you're getting even less of an idea of it. But you get somewhat of an idea. But you got to go visit her site, KarenHuttonPhotography.com or KarenHutton.com. or one of her social media places, and follow her and see the work she continues to put out, and not just the older stuff that the stuff she has on her site. And you do have some of these for sale too on the site, right?
Yep, they're all for sale on the site. Some of them are custom prints, but most of them you can just purchase from the website.
Yeah, and tons of these, I look at them and go, man, that would look awesome on the wall. To me, that is. If I look at an image and say I would put that on my wall, that's a
good image.
That's a very high compliment.
That is as high as compliment I can give, and I can't even count how many of those I saw like that. It was just one after the other. I actually got goosebumps looking at some of your images.
Goosebumps. I love goosebumps.
That's another sign that I love it when we go to another one. It's like, ooh, and I'm getting a little bit of it now. But those two, the goosebumps and when I put it on my wall, are the two biggest compliments I can give.
That's really nice. Thank you. I get goosebumps sometimes when I'm at a scene, Oh,
that's awesome.
They don't lie. They just don't lie. And
yes.
So, yeah.
Well, Karen, thank you for coming out tonight. Love talking to you. Wish we had more time, but I know it's an hour and actually a little bit over. So thank you for that. So if you come in late, I know we had some people come in late. We'll have this available this weekend or so on YouTube, on Stitcher, on iTunes, all over the place, and on our website. So be looking for that. Karen, if you want to hang out for a little bit or just drop out, I know you got to go somewhere else. We have a few things to wrap up at the end of the show. But thank you for coming out and talking with us tonight. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Welcome. Pleasure meeting you guys, and thank you so much for inviting me on. It was really fun.
Yeah,
and I do have to run.
Yes.
Yay. So maybe we'll do it again. That would be lovely,
Absolutely.
and I look forward to seeing the recording.
Yeah.
Hey, Karen, one thing before you leave, on your website, you have the links to Facebook. I don't think that's your Facebook account that it's linking to.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's linking to some other Karen Hutton, it looks like.
So that is weird.
You might want to take a look at it. No problem.
I'll check that out. I had no idea.
And I'll have
technology.
I'll have all the links to all your places that I can find, and the show notes too for anybody who wants to go look at them. So you can go there too. Karen, again, thank you. I'll be in touch.
Good night.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Good night, you
Good night.
guys. Bye.
All right, Tim, let me bring you up. There we go. All right. That was awesome speaking to her. Thank you guys for coming out. We're going to do a few wrap-up things here at the end. One I was going to do at the beginning and I forgot. We have the Best of 2015 Photo Contest. It's our annual end-of-year photo contest. There are 2 ways to enter, and I will be posting the rules on it. It's fairly simple. An image you took in 2015 that you want to enter into the contest. You can enter 1 image, and there'll be some other small restrictions like on size and that kind of stuff, and nothing offensive. But 2 ways to enter. You can either go to our Facebook page. Hold on, Tim. I got to get this. Either go to our Facebook page or our website, which is jpeg2raw.com. There's a photo contest link. Just come down to photo challenge contest entry, and you can upload your image there. We'll see if this pulls up. There you go. You can upload your image there, or you can go into our Facebook group, which is, and they're saying that it is her Facebook profile. You can go to our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/group/jpeg2raw. And there's an album at the very top that is the album for the Best of 2015. The good news, unlike in other months where the biggest thing you win is putting the photo at the top of our Facebook page group, if you win in the month of December, the December contest, there's actual prizes, Tim.
That is cool.
There's an Amazon.com gift card for the first, second, and third place winner. $150 and $25, I think it is. Blake Rudis, who is our guest on two past shows, is also donating some of his stuff. I think one of the items he's donating is valued at over $300. We're giving away a book from a signed book, Sky Crystals, from Don Kamarachka. Don Com. He told me I could just call him Don Com. But we're
I don't know why you changed it.
Because I tried to say his name. We're giving away a signed copy of his book. Where is that? And he's going to. Don and Blake are both guest judges. We're also giving away A.D. Wheeler has donated a bunch of his stuff. We're going to be giving away some of that to all. I think maybe the top 3 or top 6. I can't remember what we're giving away. All that's going to be there. So there's going to be celebrity judges who are going to do the judging. So it won't be just Tim and I and a few other people. There will be some other people. You can, Lori. My text is so small I can't read what handwriting is.
Lori Novak.
This book is awesome, and it's going to go to the first place person because we can only afford to buy one of them. But if you don't win, you can always buy it. It's not that expensive. So be looking for that. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, that is the best place to see what all we're doing, and join that group or join our page, and you can come into those contests, the monthly contest too. The way we afford all this is through our Amazon link. If I can get that up there, jpeg2raw.com/Amazon. Click that before you go to Amazon. We get a small credit. Whatever we haven't spent during the year on giveaways and that kind of stuff, we do this blowout. I will spend it all, whatever we have left, on giving away to people. Tim and I don't do this for money. We do it to give back. And if you're going to buy anything from Topaz Labs, I don't think Karen mentioned Topaz as one of the places she used. She uses Nick. She uses On One. I don't remember if she said Topaz or not. But I do.
No, she didn't say Topaz. She said On One and Aurora HDR.
I bet she's tried it, though. I bet she's tried it. Both of us own the full package of that.
Yes.
So if you're going to buy anything from Topaz Labs for the holidays or anytime, use our link, jpeg2raw.com/Topaz Labs, and we get a small credit, and we will turn all that back around. Then, hey, there's actually been some activity recently, Tim, in the forums.
Really?
Yes.
And you must have been writing something.
I know. We have, there's a few members that have been chatting back and forth with me. So come out there and join us in the forums, jpegraw.com/forums. The problem is we haven't used it as much as we should have been using it over the last couple of years. So there's the members that are out there posting are actually helping me fix a few bugs that are making it better for everybody. So come out there and join us. It's a great place to have conversation. If you're not into Facebook or you're not into those kind of social media sites, our forums is a great place to have a good threaded conversation. It's and that's what one of the guys I've been talking with out there. He's not really into Facebook or Google Plus, none of that social media stuff. He'd rather be in a place like this. So his name is Pat, and we glad to have him out there talking with me, Pat. I actually chatted with him on Google Hangout to help him resolve one of the problems, or try to. I actually couldn't resolve it. So come out there and join us in the forums. And what does this button do? I already did that button.
And Karen updated the Facebook link on our photography site.
Wow, that was fast.
Yes.
That was fast. So
it was linking to some other Karen Hutton. It was weird.
That is weird. So next week we have AD Wheeler. He's going to come on and talk to us about a number of things. You know, AD has been on the show, I think, at least twice. He came on last year when we did the review of the December, the Best
Correct.
of 2014 contest. And hopefully he's going to be able to do the same thing this year, where he walked through and told us what all he was thinking. So be here next week. Then after that, we're going to take 2 weeks off for Christmas and New Year's. And hopefully that'll give me some time to do some updates. I like to do updates during those breaks. And then we'll be kicking off the new year, and hopefully we're going to have a lot of good guests come up next year and get more on a roll. Got a little bit sidetracked with some things that happened personally. So hopefully we'll get back on track with that. If you came in late or came in early and had to leave, and you're not hearing me now, so it wouldn't matter. But if you came in late and want to get this show, the best way to get the show every week or whenever we produce it is to subscribe. And you can subscribe through our YouTube, through iTunes, and we have they're separate sizes of video and a audio if you want to listen to audio. We're on Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podomatic, and soon to be Google Music, Google Play Music.
Well,
we're all up there. We're just waiting for them to turn it on, and we'll be there. Also, I mentioned we're on YouTube and Vimeo. So that's it. That's all I have. Look forward to see you in the forums or in Facebook. Until next week, keep it raw. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Tanya says, AD rocks. Yes. AD has, what was it, a year ago, somebody gave me a box of Nerds. I love nerd candy.
My God, that's a long time ago. I had them when I was a kid.
You remember that? I love nerd
Yes.
candy. And they gave me a box that was, you ever been to like Sam's Club or what's the other one? That Costco.
Costco, BJ's.
And they have the massive box of cereal, the extra big box. Right. Well, somebody gave me a box of Nerds that was that size. Now, what was inside it was smaller boxes of Nerds. But I posted a photo with that and a Diet Coke next to it. And AD called me out on it and said, "You're going to kill yourself eating that stuff." and you know, we've over the couple of years we've gotten close enough where he can say that kind of stuff to me without offending me. But it had an impact, and I said, you know, you're right. I can't. I love candy, but I can't. If I try and eat this stuff, I am going to kill myself. So I gave away the whole box. Didn't have one of them.
Wow.
Yeah, did not have one of them.